Hey guys, thanks for giving me attention. I want to talk to you about this project I've been working on in my process so far. So, all of this starts from looking at my alma mater, Maryland Institute College of Art, and the fact that they didn't have any sports teams. So, I came up with a basic design and I actually didn't finish it until this video. And then here's the logo, but I changed it and I actually might have made it worse with the revision. Editing Tony here to better bridge the gap in understanding between me as the designer and you as the viewer. So the reason I made the design more simplistic was actually reason why graphic design as a whole has become more minimalistic. With the rise of cell phones and mobile apps, there was a large shift in graphic design to become more minimalistic to convey clear messaging in a very small amount of pixels. Now you understand more. And here are all the concepts, and all of them use reference photos, so maybe you could call that cheating. And yeah, I did it year 2. But these are all original-ish designs, right? It doesn't matter that I take heavy inspiration from things that already exist. And here are the football and tickets. And I slightly tweaked the design, but you probably didn't notice until I pointed that out. And here is the logo and slogan. And the back of the tickets. And then now we have shoes with just the color scheme, with blue laces and then with yellow laces. And then we have all of the design elements that I would use in the creation of uniforms and things like that, but it all doesn't matter because I completely changed it. Why I changed the entire design was because when I started this project in college, I would always use the Gotham typeface for every project that I could. Wherever it could work, I was using it. So now when I took a step back to create this and go a little deeper with the concept, I decided to really look into the typeface choices and not really limit myself to the things that I was doing just a few years ago. This is what it looks like now. This is the color scheme. I should have explained this earlier, but I based my designs off of the hyacinth and Lear's macaw species. These are two species of macaw that look very similar, and I really like how the colors interacted with each other. I do think going forward I could toy around with using other macaw species and their color schemes as special edition uniforms, but I really like these colors as the basis for the design. And these are all the different logos I think I would use, also including the one that I featured at the beginning. These are the typographic elements. And then I made a football field concept, and I took it to a 3D space. You're going to see some football heated benches with propane heaters, and this is done in Blender. And the football stadium chairs. And the football field, which I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't look great right now. I don't even think it looks good. It doesn't even look good enough. The football field doesn't look good here. I'm not referring to the design of the field. I'm referring more to the fact that the grass doesn't look like grass or turf right now. It just looks like a plain, flat image. So I think with time, obviously, that's going to change. But as of right now, it's just not a finished product. But it's all a work in progress, and I just wanted to show you guys my process so far. And this is part of what goes on behind the scenes. This is how the sausage is made, if you will, right? and this is me working on the helmet. It took me a lot longer than these screenshots are gonna suggest. Football helmet here was a lot of trial and error. It took a lot of work because there's no real tutorial, at least on YouTube, from start to finish of how to make a football helmet. So you're just watching tutorials to teach you concepts, basically, of like how things work and trying to apply that knowledge. So I think once I figured it out, there was a huge amount of like success that I felt in creating something where I was trying to mimic something that existed in real life without really having the blueprint of how to do it. But here is the helmet shell along with the face mask. Look, it looks so nice. You would think I completely knew what I was doing from start to finish in making it, and it didn't take me many attempts. You know, even in a process video, I can't accurately portray how much time this took me. But here it is after it's basically finished with the interior padding and the face mask as well, or not the face mask, I meant to say the visor. Obviously the face mask is there, but the visor is there as well. I just had it hidden. But here are all the decals that you would see, even the safety label, because ever since we found out about CTE, we have to have those on helmets now. And here are the renders of the helmet. By the way, I was just kidding. The helmet safety label, I think, has always been there, just for liability reasons. And here are shoulder pads I worked on. I took heavy inspiration from an existing shoulder pad, but I decided to completely deviate from that and make it my own thing, which might be a little bit too bulky, but I'm okay with it. I can work with it. It works well enough, I think, by the end of this video for what I need it to do. And here are the renders of it. And then we have sculpting, and this was my first time sculpting in Blender and doing character design in Blender. But here is the sculpt of the body. I actually did the head first, but this is a high polygon mesh, so I actually had to retopologize it to get it to be lower poly so that it's easier to work with. When it comes to 3D work, you'll hear terms like high poly and low poly. And high poly is when you have a lot of shapes that comprise a 3D model. Low poly is when you have a lot less shapes taking up the 3D model. The reason why you would want a low poly model is to have a model that works better on your system, and the reason you'd want a high poly model is to have a lot of details. Now, a lot of the times you can get away with making a model a little less high poly, so retopologizing is what you do when you have a high poly model and you want to make it a little more low poly. And the way I would conceptualize that is, if you're taking a video, right, that's a lot of pictures within that one video, versus if you have a picture that's just one picture. So if you have a video file on your computer, it's a lot more taxing on your computer and takes up a lot more space to have the video that's comprised of a lot of photos rather than just the one picture on your device when I need to use it for things later on. And of course, right now you see a lot of the squares and it doesn't look smooth, but you can just do a simple shade smooth and that actually changes it. The hands hands and feet I actually made separately because I found a tutorial where you actually didn't need to sculpt them, and I could just use hard surface modeling techniques. More terms you'll hear me refer to in 3D modeling is soft surface modeling versus hard surface modeling. So soft surface modeling deals more in organic shapes, sculpting, and is very artistic in its approach. Hard surface modeling is dealing more with geometric shapes and is very methodical and mathematic in its approach. The easiest way to remember the distinction between the two is soft surfaces dealing more with clay and sculpting, soft, and then hard surface modeling is dealing more with building things together like building blocks instead of soft surface modeling techniques. But they both turned out pretty well, I think, and all I had to do was just connect them to the rest of the body when I retopologized them. And these are all of the references I used. And these are the teeth. And we're going to get more in depth here, but this is the model of the teeth, not textured with any shading or coloring. This is the textured body model, and I think the skin tone looks pretty good. Looks pretty spot on because I did it. And this is how he looks with hair, and once he gets those eyebrows, he looks even better. But look at him. He looks amazing now. He's based on me, so he kind of has to. This project would kind of be a waste. But yeah, here's a nice in-depth look around the model. And, my social links are available down below, just so you know that. And here are the eyes, as well as an inside look into the mouth. And here are the shoes. So the cleats, they actually were a little difficult for me to do. I think this was my second attempt at cleats in particular. This was the first shoe that I made in Blender. It's a basketball shoe more than anything, I think. So it does look pretty good, but obviously for this project I kind of had to change it because it needed to be a football cleat. But here's a rendering of the shoes, so they aren't too bad. This was my first attempt at the cleats. It isn't bad, but I didn't love it, so I decided to actually go with a simpler design, and I think this actually looks quite a bit better. And yeah, that's what it looks like after everything. And then you have the helmet on the body. I actually change the visor settings later on because I don't think that looks great. But rigging. Okay, so rigging in 3D modeling refers to the process of assigning bones to a 3D model so that it reacts more like what you want it to react like. So in this case, we have a human rig so that it can react more like a human. This is me rigging the character, getting ready to, and hey, it actually works. Well, the eyes, at least at the time. There were a lot of issues with the rig that I had to fix. It was quite the process. It was not fun. But the finishing point of this was fun. Here's the football. And a water bottle. And a locker that you can put the football and water bottle into. Isn't that great? And here's the compression wear with branding which I thought looks really cool. Again, because I did it if I didn't think it looked cool, it kind of wouldn't make sense for me to have done it. And here are the renders of the uniform. And actually, I had to change the skin tone later on because I realized my character looks orange. But you see the vision, the idea is there. It's the thought that counts, right? That's what you say when you forget your girl's special day and you have to just give her a present that wasn't actually a well thought out present, but you have to pretend it was. Be clear, that's not an event that's happened to me, man. I haven't even had a girl before. Anyway, here are all of the renders of that, and I think it turned out really great. Here some just all the different poses. Again, after he was rigged, I was able to do all of this, and it turned out pretty cool. Right now I'm using a HDRI background, so I think later I'll want to go with an actual 3D stadium. HDRI images, or high dynamic range images, are used for lighting settings in 3D spaces. Most images usually are low dynamic range, which means parts of the image will appear darker than they do in real life. High dynamic range images don't have this problem, which is why they're used for lighting, and in this case, as the background for my 3D renders. And that's the stadium I'm working on. Instead of using a HDRI background. Instead of using a HDRI background. And these are some wallpapers that I made for my computer. And you might be wondering, why does the model have gray hair? It's because I have gray hair. You get wisdom teeth. I get wisdom hair. We are not the same.